What's up YouTube, and welcome to the Permadeath Collective. I am Lethal, your host for this video, in which I'll be showing you how to dual boot Elementary OS alongside Windows 10. So you're going to need three things to start with actually. You're going to need a USB that's at least 8 or 16 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes at least. And that's what we're going to be flashing in a bit, but first of all let's head over to Elementary, and that's a TV show, we don't want that. Elementary OS, and it'll take you to the site. Now you don't actually have to pay for this, it makes it look like you do, but you can click on custom and then you press 0 and press download Elementary OS. Press download and it will bring up this box. You can simply press save file, press OK, and then that will begin downloading. So that's going to take a little bit of time, so whilst that's happening we'll go over to Rufus. So if you type in Rufus, that will bring up the Rufus website, and this is what we're actually going to use to flash a USB. Now what that means is we're going to turn it into a bootable disk. So just scroll down a little bit and you'll see this download section. Just simply download Rufus 3.12, sorry, and then that will also bring up a box. That shouldn't take long at all. We'll open that up, and then once that's up we will just wait for Elementary to finish. Alright, so it's just finished downloading, so we're going to go over to this folder. Now I'm going to use an SD card, but you can use a USB like I said before. Just going to format that just to make sure. You can do it in FAT32. Not that really matters because Rufus will take care of the rest. So once that's formatted, we're going to go back to Rufus and just remember where your Elementary ISO file is, which is this disk image file here. And we're going to select our SD storage or whatever your USB is called. And then we're going to go over to here and press select. Now it automatically takes me to the downloads folder, so then I'm going to click Elementary. Ignore the persistence, I'm going to show you that in a different video, but for now we're focusing on the dual boot. Name the volume label as you wish, just leave it as default, and then we're going to ignore the rest of the settings and press start. Press yes, and then it will say that, and you just want to press OK and press OK. It's just a warning to say that it's going to format your disk, so do make sure that anything you want on this USB is taken off before you do this, and that will start making it so it can be a bootable drive. So I'm going to let this process go and I will be back with you in a bit. Alright, so now that's done, we're going to be doing a restart on the computer. So you can now close Rufus, and then we'll move over to the BIOS. So what we're going to want to do is do a complete shutdown and restart the computer. Okay, so once your computer has restarted, you'll need to either press the F2 key or whatever it is for you to get into your BIOS, and that will bring up whatever your BIOS is, and then you're going to want to find within your BIOS the boot menu, and this will bring up a menu similar to this. Maybe your BIOS is a bit older or different, but every BIOS should have this sort of option where you'll be able to change the order of your boot. So it should be on Windows Boot Manager or whatever your operating system is, and you're going to want to change it to your USB. So if you could simply click on the first option or move the order up of your USB. So yours might say SanDisk or something if you're using a SanDisk. Alternatively, you can boot it straight from the boot override, so you can basically click on it and it will boot straight in. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to do it this way. So now the priority, it will check for a USB first, and then it will boot into our Elementary. And There we go, so it's now asking us if we want to install elementary. Let's press enter, and then it should start booting up. And then once it's booted up, you should have a menu like this. So you can either give elementary a try first, which will allow you to run it from the USB itself, but you won't actually be able to save anything. You'll just only be able to, you can install what you want and try it as much as you want, but as soon as you power the computer off, then it will reset everything back because it can't retain the information. So if you want to do that, go ahead, but I'm going to go for the install elementary. Obviously pick your language, and then your keyboard layout. Make sure that's to your preference. And then I'd recommend downloading the updates while installing elementary. That just makes it so that you are actively installing everything now instead of later. So pick any third-party software for graphics if you've got things like NVIDIA or anything. I think that can actually actively install that as well. Then just press continue, and I'll be back when it's prepared the installation. Okay, so once it's prepared, it can take longer depending on your hardware, but it will give you two options here. You just want to ignore the something else. So this is if you want to erase everything and install elementary as your main operating system, but we are obviously going for the dual boot, so you want to install elementary alongside Windows. So then we just press continue, and then here's where you can allocate the amount of data. You just want, obviously you've only got the one drive, allocate drive space, so you can hover over this a little bit here and choose how much space you want to allow for elementary. Now depending on the amount of space you have, you're obviously going to want to choose a different amount. I'm going to allow probably 100 gigabytes, maybe 200 because I can afford it, but obviously some people might, if you're using a laptop or something, you might only have 250 in total. You want to allow probably about 100. It really depends on what you're going to be doing on elementary itself. And then you simply just press install now, and that will start the installation process. Once it's finished processing in the background, it will come up with a box like this, and basically that will just warn you that before you actually create the partition, it will need to make any changes, and that you it's basically a disclaimer saying you can't undo this operation, this is your doing, so make sure you know what you're doing basically. And then this process may take a while depending on your hardware again, so once you're ready and you're sure you definitely want to dual boot, then you press continue. And this will take a little while because obviously it's going to be installing everything to the other partition that you've just created. Okay, so another box has just popped up. I forgot about this bit. So what's going to happen now is it's going to format that new partition that's just been created for elementary OS as the ext4 type, and that's just the type it needs for the operating system to be installed. So just press continue, and then choose your time frame. So mine's in England, so I'm going to go with London. Continue. Set up your operating your user and everything. Pick a username. I'll stick with lethal. Choose a password. Don't know. OS123. OS123. Might not like that. Require password to log in. It is more secure that way, and since Linux is all about security, I would advise. Press continue, and then it will start the installation process, so I will be back straight after this. Right, so once the installation has completed, just press restart now, and that will finalize the installation. After the restart, I've come back into my BIOS. This is purely just to show you what should have happened. You don't actually have to do this, but you should now have as your boot option 1, so your first priority should now be this disk saying Ubuntu. So this should be what's known as grub, and this will allow you to choose between which operating system that you boot into. So if yours isn't at the top, you need to make sure it is at the top. So if you're having any issues, come to your BIOS and check that this Ubuntu partition is actually at the top. That way you can choose between which operating system that you actually boot into. Like I say, you don't actually have to do this, but I'm going to restart again and exit the BIOS. And on boot up, it should take you to a menu, like so. And this is Grub. So then you get to choose which operating system you go into. And as you'll see, Elementary is at the top, with Windows Boot Manager being how you get back onto Windows. So if you want Windows, go onto Windows Boot Manager. But we're going to go into Elementary and just make sure that the installation was successful. Okay, so we're now in the login page for our new operating system that's fully installed now. I did just fail a take on this, so a box will appear once we have logged in. So just insert the password that you created for your user upon installation. And then you will be presented with a box that will ask you if you want to use location services, turn on nightlight, which is what I've done, if you use your computer a lot at night, and then you'll be good to go. One other thing I do want to recommend to you is if you go up here and click Applications and load up your terminal. Even if you're not a big Linux user for like terminal based things, you still want to do this because this is the easiest way to do it. Just type in sudo apt and then full upgrade. If you press tab at full, it'll finish it off for you. And you want to press enter on that, and that will do a complete upgrade to your system. Just follow any instructions. And that means that it will update anything to do with the operating system, all the apps on it, and then you're done. You won't need to restart or anything. It will just finish and then you're good to go, and you can start using your new operating system. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did really like this content, please like, really appreciate that, and if you can subscribe as well, that would be amazing, and I'll see you in the next video.